This is David Smoak's statewide Texas high school football podcast on 365 Sports and powered by Smoaky.com and sponsored by Peter Chevrolet in Longview, an innovative third-generation family dealership dedicated to ethics, integrity, and the community, while creating friendly, intelligent, and transparent environment to assist with any automotive need, large or small.
McNair in the gun with under 2 minutes left, down 44-0, trying to get a score. English right side, and he will score. Touchdown, the senior, Raul English from 2 yards out.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are an insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. We've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. Sturdy Steel. We build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide. Batteries Plus. We have the person who can fix what you need with expert knowledge on batteries and have you on your way and good to go in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, with locations throughout the Southwest, serving up tasty food since 1989, including off I-35 in Waco. Next in line, Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it with 5 locations in the Waco area. Bird Culchin Ford on the Loop and Highway 6 in Waco. And Waco's trusted Ford dealer since 1936. And customers know they can expect us to be fair, honest, affordable, and always committed to the tradition of quality service.
It's another week, Texas high school football. The weather starts to change a little bit. It's still, we're going to have days when, of course, it feels like it's still like July and August, but we're starting to get some of that, the weather, moisture, and a little bit of tint of fall. And so we hope you've enjoyed the first 4 weeks. And if you haven't, maybe for some of you, your team hasn't even started district play. And so now the games matter. Now, there's some schools that started district play even a week or two ago. And, of course, we'll take you through what happened in week number 4 and then look ahead to week 5. And, man, the banger games, as we call them at the college football level, like top 25 teams against each other. We'll show you that. Thanks again to Jerry Forrest, pigskinprep.com. Also, we're going to feature a red-hot 6-man school and a guy that's had success. He went to school 6-man in Mike Reed, the head coach at Gordon. They've won back-to-back state championships. How about Rockwall with a really impressive win against North Crowley last week, 37-35. There was the Waxahachie game. Hey, who featured them? Now, I didn't know they were going to beat Duncanville. I really didn't know that, but I knew they were getting closer to that Duncanville DeSoto level. Remember that bamboo analogy. You plant it, it takes forever to grow, and then once it does, it won't stop, like Jack and the Beanstalk, and it's hard and tough, and it's hard to cut. And Waxahachie came back to beat Duncanville 28-27. Shane Tollison, what a huge win for the Indians. Also, A&M consolidated in that great crosstown, Bryan College Station. Consolidated beat College Station. Final score was 38-21. Anna beating Lovejoy was not a surprise, but 45-14. Seth Parr gets one on Todd Dodge. Kilgore in a slugfest. We knew this would be low scoring. 18-6 against Pleasant Grove. Nice win for Kilgore. Lindale. Gilmer's now lost a couple of games in a row. 35-23. Lindale and Chris Cochran with a nice win. And then Carthage Chapel Hill. I never doubted that Carthage would win this game. I just didn't know if it was going to be like 30-20, something like that. But if it got into a shootout, you know how they are, and it was, and Carthage wins it 56-34. That's the final. And I did kind of send a text with Jeff Reardon. Scott Surratt, my goodness, what they've done. But Jeff said that they did kick themselves or stub their toe or, messed up a few times. He felt like if they played again, he's not saying anything other than the fact that they wish they had about 2 or 3 moments in that game back. Belleville, nice win against Hitchcock. How many times do we see 17-14 anymore? Just good old-fashioned 2 really good teams in 3A. And then Axtell with Craig Horn. What a nice win against Crawford. Ty Robinson, who had that great run at Woodville, is now the head coach at Crawford. They had a nice win earlier this year that kind of sent a message against Hamilton, and then all of a sudden Axtell thumped them 34-7, the final. Now, try to highlight some of the individual performances. Look at this one from Honeygrove's Rylan Morris. He at one point was committed to Baylor. Then he decommitted. He is now committed to Stanford. And look at this stat line. 375 yards rushing on 32 carries, 6 touchdowns. He had a 2-point conversion, 3 receptions for 113 yards and another couple of scores. He also had a 2-point conversion receiving, 488 yards of total offense, and also scored 52 of their points. They scored 53. He scored, Morris, 52 of their 53 points in that game. He just a phenomenal performance. And then how about Keegan Ash? Remember, we featured him among the all-time leading rushers in Texas high school football history. He now has 7,675 yards rushing with 111 rushing touchdowns. He is already moving up the notch. Remember, we showed the all-time leading rushers all time, and he is right up there, man. He's starting to, slowly, and here's how you do it. 385 yards, 6 touchdowns, 123 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. He also threw a pass for 20 yards, had 2 2-point conversions. And then on top of that, Keegan Ash, he's committed to TCU, 11 tackles, 2 tackles for losses, a sack, 3 caused fumbles, and also had an interception return and an extra point for 2 points and a 62-57. They needed every bit of that to beat Shelbyville in a really good game in Class 2A. Shoemaker with a really nice win. They're 4-0 in District 12 6A. That district starts this week, including Shoemaker and Temple. Chad President and Temple, they're 4-0 in his first year, the former star quarterback at Temple High School, who also played college ball at Tulsa. Shoemaker and Temple. This could be a phenomenal game. And here's one of the plays that Polite made, Jamal Polite made in that game against University High. Nice catch. Very nice catch. Just kind of clawed it. And he's popped up, as you can imagine. Yeah, that's not quite the Odell Beckham, but I had somebody who was Dan Ingham broadcast that game on TV, and he told me about it. So I went back and found it, thanks to Toby Foreman for getting that to me. Also, KWTX with the courtesy, and Royden was the one who sent. Oh, Royden Ogletree, right?
Yep.
Ogletree. Yeah, Ogletree is the one that put up on his feed. Now, a couple of other notes in high school football. Patrick Mahomes, back in May, was inducted into the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. You know the story because I was fortunate enough to be a part of it, the honor that still blows me away, and I have this ring that I wear every second of my day except when I'm working out. But Patrick Mahomes, Jeff Traylor, obviously Brad Goebel, who, of course, is a quarterback at Cuero, Curtis Barbay, who's passed away, but the family and the great story there, all the great names that were a part of that. John Norman was a part of it as well. Pat Thomas at Plano. There were some great names, and I was fortunate. Robert Griffin III, also one of the headliners. But Patrick Mahomes was there, and during his speech, he then unveiled the Gladiator Adidas jersey that Texas Tech has. They, of course, have gone to Adidas, and they got everything going right now with that huge win against Utah on the road with Joey McGuire and company. But they've unveiled the high school Adidas Gladiator. These are all of the logos of the colors. There's now 15 programs nationwide that will wear the Adidas Gladiator Patrick Mahomes jersey. 2 of them are in the state of Texas. Mahomes on that day in May mentioned his alma mater. White House would wear the jersey, but also Longview, the Lobos. I have been covering high school football every year since 1981. I know the fan bases, and especially, of course, spending so many years as I did, 30 years in the East Texas area, and still with my website, Smoaky.com, I cover all over the state of Texas. That's why we do this every week with Garrett Ross, by the way. Again, Garrett, thank you so much for your time. But the Lobo fan base, you hear about these one-horse towns like Temple, Stephenville, Lufkin, Longview, and there's many others. But there's some schools, again, that are in areas that have, like Frisco's got, 50 schools now. I think it's 11 or 12. But there are one-horse towns. Longview has Pine Tree High School. But Longview High School is thought of as a one-horse town. They are as passionate and proud. And remember, forever and ever, they were like so good. And they knocked on the door. And they won it back when Haynes King, now at Georgia Tech, with his father, the head coach, John King, won the state championship. I think it was, 2018. They are unbelievable, their success. And now they're a part of that Adidas Gladiator model jersey that Patrick Mahomes unveiled. And now I could have, if Mahomes would have called me, which he wouldn't, but if he did and said, hey, what 5 schools in the state of Texas would you think we should be a part of? Longview would absolutely be a part of that. There's other schools that I've broadcast over the years, but they're no doubt one. And so good for Longview and John King and also the Lobos. They lost to Ruston, Louisiana, and old school Louisiana. All those coaches, I've talked about them before with John King, Pat Collins, Dickie Meeks, the late Dickie Meeks, Mike Valerie, that came across from Louisiana back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Actually, Dickie Meeks was back in 88, 89 at Chapel Hill, right outside of Tyler. And so good for Longview. Thanks to Patrick Mahomes at Adidas for making that announcement earlier in the week. Now, when we come back, Gordon High School head coach Mike Reed. He has been in 6-man almost from the time that he was born, in a way. He played at Gordon. He's coached in 6-man football. He's also coached elsewhere. And we will have Mike Reed, the head coach at Gordon High School, back-to-back state champions in 6A, and a very unique win over the weekend. We will check in with him about their success. Also, we'll have the all-time state champions in 6-man football history in the state of Texas. I'm David Smoak. This is the statewide high school football podcast, Smoaky.com and 365 Sports.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Peters Ram in Longview is gearing up for this football season during the Make This the Summer event going on now. Make all the right moves by getting 25% off MSRP on new select Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cabs. The season is looking good with the largest selection of new Ram trucks at Peters Ram during the Make This the Summer event. Online at peterscars.com.
At Sturdy Steel, we build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide, we're proud of our reputation for dependable, high-quality work and strong client relationships that stand the test of time. From concept to installation, our team of skilled drafters, welders, and installers takes pride in delivering seating solutions designed to last. With a focus on dependability, transparency, and service, we are here to make the unique needs of architects, contractors, schools, and venues across the country. We ensure every project is seamless, sturdy, and ready for generations of fans to enjoy. That's Sturdy Steel. This is David Smoak's statewide Texas high school football podcast on 365 Sports and powered by Smoaky.com and sponsored by Peters Chevrolet in Longview, an innovative third-generation family dealership dedicated to ethics, integrity, and the community, while creating friendly, intelligent, and transparent environment to assist with any automotive need, large or small.
McNair in the gun with under 2 minutes left, down 44-0, trying to get a score. English right side, and he will score. Touchdown, the senior, Raul English from 2 yards out.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are an insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. We've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. Sturdy Steel. We build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide. Batteries Plus. We have the person who can fix what you need with expert knowledge on batteries and have you on your way and good to go in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, with locations throughout the Southwest, serving up tasty food since 1989, including off I-35 in Waco. Next in line, Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it with 5 locations in the Waco area. Bird Culchin Ford on the Loop and Highway 6 in Waco. And Waco's trusted Ford dealer since 1936. And customers know they can expect us to be fair, honest, affordable, and always committed to the tradition of quality service.
We are back. We're going to feature Gordon High School, the football program, and the success they've had and how it came about and much more, plus a coach that I've known and the success that he has throughout his DNA. Here is the list, and thanks to Jerry Forrest again, I wanted to make sure I had this corrected or updated. The all-time state championship victories in six-man football history. Richland Springs, the number to the right of each school is the last time they won a state championship. So some of them, it's been a while, but these are, when you look at the history of high school football, Richland Springs, 9. Strawn, unbelievable run with 5, along with Borden County. Fort Hancock, back in the day, they won 4 in a row at one point. I have in bold and in italics, Gordon. They've won 4, and they've won the last 2. Throckmorton, and there's a connection with Gordon with that. Jayton, they won last year. They have 3. Panther Creek, since 2000, they haven't, but they had 3 in Cherokee back in the days when I was in high school. That's 1978. I graduated in 1977. Fort Hancock won 4 in a row. Richland Springs once won 3 in a row. And then there's a bunch, including Gordon, that have won back-to-back state championships. And head coach Mike Reed of Gordon High School joins me on the Statewide High School Football Podcast. You have been, like I said, your DNA is filled with six-man football. Gordon had a history when you were a part of that. And now what you've done the last couple of years, what is it about the town, the city, the school, the program that bleeds success?
Well, I think you know this. You've been covering, high school sports, since the 80s at an in-depth coverage. And there's just certain communities and different classifications all the way from 6A to 6-man, that there's just certain communities and their culture. They might go through a lull, but just, man, you can't. It's in the barbershops, it's in the hardware stores, just kind of in the DNA of the community and the expectations at the dinner tables. And Gordon is just one of those communities.
You played there. You were there. What was it like when you were there? And because you've also coached 11-man as well, but for the most part, your DNA is what you've done when it comes to six-man football. Take me back to when you were there. What was it like when you were there?
Well, I moved to Gordon when I was a sophomore in high school. My dad was in the military. And so when I got to Gordon, it's the first time I'd ever played football. I didn't even play football till I was, a sophomore in high school. But the thing that just jumped right off the page to me as just a young kid is Nelson Campbell, when he retired as the all-time winningest six-man football coach. But there was just a level of intention to everything you did, the effort, the attention to details, and just you knew that you can be a kid and you can kind of goof off a little bit here, but there was a certain specific time of the day that it's square business. And I learned that at a young age. And then obviously he was my mentor and kind of taught me things to get my career started at a young age.
So this is your ninth year, right? Back at Gordon. Is that what you told me?
My eighth. So this is starting. Yes.
Okay. From the time you were there to the time you came back, from the time when Coach Campbell, who's a Hall of Famer, a six-man Hall of Famer, to the time you came back, it wasn't as if everything just disappeared, but was there something you had to reinvigorate, spark, or whatever at Gordon High School when you came back to your alma mater?
Yeah, I think the best way to probably explain it is, it was just like a beautiful oak tree with just no leaves on it. It had its history. It's seen its storms. It's seen its weather. It's seen its cold days. All those kind of things that But the tree had just kind of had died. There was maybe a little flash of a couple seasons. Within that, they made the state semifinals one year. They had a couple playoff runs, but nothing really significant. And so, just once the kind of water started hitting it, my first 2 years here, we only had 13 players. We only had 13 players out, and that it was hard to even muster enough to even get a look in practices. So it just kind of was starting from the ground zero. And, if I could go back and tell a young Mike Reed something, even when he was in Rule and when he was in Throckmorton, is just really getting involved and getting the youth programs in a small community started, making sure who's in charge, making sure what they're teaching, and starting to build from there. And that's just kind of what we did. And then it just started paying its dividends.
Mike, what's the biggest misconception about six-man football since you've coached at both levels?
Well, I think it's a misconception of society. I think anytime something is different, you just, from the norm, you just immediately view that it's not normal. Let's look at pickleball, for example. I mean, I'm sure the first person that came out with pickleball, that was different than tennis, people kind of laughed at it and thought it was a joke. Well, now you can't go to any park anywhere in the United States that there isn't a pickleball court. So I would say that would be how six-man football is. And the thing that's helped so much, obviously, from the past time to now, is the people that have sat there and said, we have a really good product. We have really good football. We have really good athletes. We just don't have as many to choose between. And we have a really, really good sport. And that now with social media and now with kids who are excelling at such high levels, has starting to gain that. Guys like you who continue to have such an impeccable reputation that sit there and vouch for you that, it's different, but I'm telling you, it's still really good, high quality football.
When I was in the East Texas area, which was 1981, Lufkin, Nacogdoches, and then eventually for a long, long time in Tyler, Longview area, they had six-man football teams. Trinidad one year had a phenomenal team. Fruitvale, of course, has been good. Apple Springs, Oakwood. So there have been teams that when I was there covered, but there were very few and far between. In fact, I remember one time in the early 80s in television where we went up to Fruitvale and kind of did a feature on them because there weren't a lot of six-man schools. Now there's some private schools and others that are doing that too. But then when I moved to Waco, Mike, in 2010, I remember like the first week of football, I had did a game, but then I went out to some of the private schools that do it, and then I also went out and saw Abbott and others and Aquila. I mean, they're everywhere. Oglesby with what that coach has done, Jeff Dixon. I mean, in this area, this is a saturated area, and I know Gordon is kind of not a part of it, but it is. We do the whole state. But, man, I loved it. Once I got a chance to actually watch it, not just do a feature, I love watching the game.
Well, it's, I guess the closest thing for people that haven't really necessarily seen it, the closest thing is just go watch a very good basketball team run up and down the floor, put shoulder pads and helmets on them, and the speed and the collisions in which, the pace of the game's going to be going. And, that's what makes it really exciting and, makes it real difficult. And, when we just played this 11-man matchup last week and things like that, I think it really also showed our kids how difficult of a task that they really do have on a Friday night with their open field tackling, having to defend people in space as much as they do. And then now, hey, let's go to 11-man. And the first thing you ask them is, hey, how was that? And they're like, Coach, that was a lot easier. I had help, if I made a mistake or something like that, it didn't result always in a touchdown. And that part, I think stood out for our kids.
Yeah, 6-on-6, and even though the field's slightly different compared to 11 or 22 on a field, it's 53.5 yards wide and 100 yards goal line to goal line, 120 overall. There is like that when you say that, because that's one of the first things I realized when I went to go watch a game, and I think it might have been Parkview Christian Academy against Waco Methodist Children's Home, but it was a fun game to watch. But I was like, man, you hear about the cornerback position in 11-man football, NFL, college, whatever. You're on an island. Everybody in 6-man football is on an island. Isn't that a pretty good analogy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just the responsibilities that you have, especially when all linemen are eligible for a pass, is one of the major differences there too. Your inside linebacker is not always just responsible for run. He's got to determine whether that lineman that's coming out at him, is he blocking me or is he going out for a pass? And, that was where I was really kind of proud of our kids, last week too. You talking kids who've been playing 6-man their whole life, and they had to sit there and say, hey, coach, put me on the offensive line, put a number 50 on me. I know I'm not going to go catch a pass, and I'm just going to go block and be unselfish for my teammates. Was really a testament to those guys.
You mentioned last week Thorndale, John Kovar is the head coach at Thorndale, and I traded an email with him. And also the uniqueness of what Garrett told me on Saturday night when we were covering a college game, that you had played Thorndale, an 11-man school who's had success. What was the story behind this game coming about?
Well, we had to do some significant traveling the last couple seasons. We had to drive out to Marfa to play a football game. We had to play out to Follett, which is up there by Kansas, just to kind of fill some games and things like that. And it just kind of seems like I've been doing this as long as you've been doing it. And when 6-man seems to sometimes set their schedules up to where they don't necessarily want to get mercy ruled. They're trying to build a program, and they don't really want to put people on the schedule that, might blow their doors off and things like that. So I posted that we were needing games. We got dropped mid-year by some schools that just didn't want to return the favor of the drive back, or, hey, coach, we just, the talent dropped so much, which happens obviously in a smaller school. They might have been good that year, but then they knew they were graduating a lot and weren't going to be as good. So we kind of also mutually agreed that it probably wasn't best for us to play to make either one of us better. And so when so I had to think outside the box. And when I was in Throckmorton, which I appreciate you showing that earlier, having Gordon and Throckmorton with their state champions, right there side by side is meaning a lot to me. And then even though there are rivals, Strawn's 8 miles down the road, and Strawn and between Strawn and Gordon in Palapena County, and I'm proud of Palapena County. That's 9 state championships in one county, at 8 miles apart from each other. But when I was in Throckmorton, we ran into a similar situation, and we played Windthorst. They lost a game for their homecoming and couldn't replace it, and we also had a hole in our schedule. So Coach Green at the time that was there before Coach Tackett, he wasn't very open to it, but he just couldn't find anybody. And I told him we could at least line up in some formations and play half a football game, honor his homecoming. But at halftime, I wanted him to line the field and then give a try at 6-man. And then and let's do that and let your kids in Windthorst experience what a 6-man game is. And I was very appreciative of him doing that. So we played the first half 11-man. It was 7-0. Windthorst was beating us. We striped the field at halftime. And then we scored 44 points in the third quarter in the 6-man part to their none. And he said afterwards, we'll never do that again. and so, it just – and then Coach Kovar was in the same boat. He just had a hole to fill. And, and I'm very appreciative of him being able to do that, because he was either going to have to tell some seniors we're just not going to play a full season. We're going to miss a week, or let's play Gordon, and at least they're going to line up and give us some formations and play hard.
Yeah, and he said, and people know about some of the players you have. We'll get to them in a moment. So after the game was over, you win the game, and you win pretty convincingly. Was it not a relief that it was over? You were happy you played. I'm sure Thorndale would like to have played a little bit better and maybe won the game. But what was the feeling after the game, after you won it, and just among everybody from both sides?
I think relief that it was over, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I probably bit off a little more than I could chew, and I kind of knew that a little bit. On May 18th, we were hit with a tornado that took out our complete facilities, and our day-to-day life right now, it wasn't when I first originally set this up, isn't as normal as what it had been in the past. Our practices and our traveling and what we have to do in order to just get through an athletic day is a lot different. And so, and then the second part on top of that, we have a staff of 3. So we have me, Ligon West. Ligon West, he was the state champion quarterback at Stanford, Texas, that played with James Washington. He went and played collegiate baseball, and so he's my defensive coordinator. Shad Reed handles all my special teams, and he was at Franklin for the longest time, and he understands good football, and he was at Callisburg and Nazareth, and so we just are a staff of 3, and we have to prepare not only a 6-man game, so we do half a 6-man practice, and then we do half a 11-man practice. And the organization and the kids being able to flow from one to the other, offensively and defensively, 6-man and 11-man, and as well as our coaches, we have to out-coach Thorndale, who has a staff of probably 7 or 8 football coaches. And so on top of that, you're a small school coach, you're the bus driver, you're the janitor, you're teaching 5 classes. It was a lot, and let alone how good Thorndale is and how traditionally good they are and how good they're going to end up being this season as well as next season. They're a large 2A. They probably enrollment wise might go to 3A next realignment. I was massively relieved it was over. I was more relieved that was over than the state championship games.
Mike, you mentioned the tornado back in May. Of course, the end of school, the school was shut down, and the recovery. And I mean, it wasn't just one, there was numerous. It just seemed like you guys got battered one after another during that day or during that time. Can you take me back to that day, what you remember most?
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as like the tornado day and just the devastation of it, I mean, it just hit perfectly, and thankfully there was no loss of life, which once you see what the city looked like, I mean, it was just like a bomb went off, and we were inside the school, and it raised the roof up of the school and set it down, but it also did massive devastation to the elementary roof, and then obviously total loss of the athletic facilities, and so just I think the thing that stood out the most was how the town came together in such a fashion. When you kick a fire ant mound and you just see those fires everywhere, you don't think they know what they're doing or where they're going, but that's kind of what Gordon looked like. It was people going everywhere. It looked like it wasn't organized or what was going on. And then all of a sudden, within about a week, it was all clean. Just people pulling together and work. It didn't matter whose house it was or anything.
By the way, Gordon, if you're on I-20 and you're heading west out of Fort Worth, then you going, let's say, towards Abilene, you'll see Gordon. Obviously, he mentioned Strawn is just right around the corner as well, where they are on the map. Couple of hours from where we are in Waco, Texas. All right, so you win the game. You have players that are going to play at military academies. You mentioned you're a military. You had a military background. I did. My dad was a Naval Academy graduate and eventually ended up being a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. So we traveled all over the world. Did you do that? Or were you pretty much always near the same place? What was your life as a military kid when you finally ended up in Gordon?
We went from Germany when I was really young to Albuquerque. And then we left Albuquerque. I spent a majority of the time in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And then my dad retired and moved to Minnesota. And then from Minnesota, my grandparents live in Gordon. Okay. And we went to a 6A school up there. And it just was, out of all the moves, just the Minnesota one was just not a place kind of for me. And so I just moved in with my grandparents in Texas and just kind of knew this was a place for me. And yeah, and that's just where I've been ever since.
It's crazy. So I military, Brad. Again, I was the third of 5 children, the middle child, so I'm the one that was spoiled. But I was born in Omaha, Nebraska. My dad was at Offutt Air Force Base. We went from Omaha to Guam. Like I'm one, and I don't remember. I just know we were like apparently on an aircraft carrier to go to Guam at some point, off maybe out of San Diego. I don't know. Then Arizona, Washington D.C., Texas, Japan, back to Texas. I haven't left Texas since we got back before my senior year. So it was all, but almost everybody that I ask about who's been a military brat, they all are out of the Germany. Like they all went to Germany or lived in Germany or Wiesbaden or whatever it was. Everybody. And I'm like, did anyone ever go out to the Far East or whatever? And I'm one of the few. Hardly ever get anybody that was military brat. If they went overseas, it was always in Europe or Germany. That kind of cracks me up. So you have striker, running back who's going to be going to Air Force Academy. Also, his brother Rye is headed to West Point. I just saw a quarterback at Cedar Ridge played a game against Midway a couple of weeks ago. He's going to play at Navy. He's fantastic. London Morgan. That says a lot about a lot of things. First of all, one, they can play. Secondly, they are academically and very strong individuals and the salt of the earth when those go into academies as well. Tell me about the brothers.
Well, they're brothers by a football family, but they're not related in any way, shape, or form. They do share the same last name, but they're not related. So Rye Reed is the son of Shad Reed, who's our assistant coach, who I was saying he's our head basketball coach, and that's his son. And so he's going to be attending West Point and playing for West Point. And they've been really diligent and have done a great job. They have a really good plan for him. They have really communicated well with him over what the expectation is and kind of what they view him and what his part's going to be, and even to the part of like how they're going to go ahead and bring him through the system and things like that. And then he's going to do football and track for him. Obviously, he's the 2-time 100 meters champion. He's the state record holder in the 100 meters. He ran a 10.4. He was on the mile relay that ran a 3:20. So he can run and has some high level. He's a very good basketball player as well. And then Striker Reed is going to the Air Force Academy, and they have high expectations for him, and they have a really good plan of him. He's probably going to go direct and go straight into it. And then he's one of the most sought after kind of decathletes in the nation. He just got back from an official visit with Princeton for the track and football for them. And he just is obviously a good kid and obviously highly intelligent. And we also have 2 other kids that are going next week to the Naval Academy on official visit for track for them. And they were on the mile relay and on the back-to-back state championship groups and that. And so just really a good class of kids. There's 10 seniors, and they're very competitive. They've only lost one game since their 5th grade year in football. Just a good group.
Mike, you mentioned Army at West Point, Air Force Academy, of course, in Colorado, then the Naval Academy as well. I don't know of any school in the country, and I don't care if it's Allen at 7,000 or with you and anyone that has a smaller enrollment, that would have all 3 of those academies covered in sports as far as any kind of scholarships. And I know that it's academic as much as anything. You're accepted into the academy. That's what is for 400, 500, around 500, the population of Gordon, to have that kind of talent and high level per capita has to be among the best anywhere in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were going to break it down by per capita and percentage, if you look at it from an Allen standpoint, that would be 140 kids in Allen on their football team. If you were taking the percentage chances of that happening in Allen, that would be going Division I athletics. And we just have a good group, and I think it's like anything else. And one of the things that you run into in a small town is a lot of times you barely even have one kid I mean, well, it's very rarely you have one Division I kid that comes through. We can name some kids. When you mentioned Trinidad, a while ago, Trinidad had a kid that went on to Baylor. Damian Amherst, but he went to West Texas A&M. That was a running back there that went on to the Minnesota Vikings, and so you're talking over a massive span of time that it's happened just a few times, and to know that you have not only you have 4 kids in your school that's being recruited by the academies. I think that's a testament to those guys feeding off each other. I think it's a testament to also their teachers, to their churches they attend and things like that have continued to push the same type of character and the same kind of standards. And I think that goes to the assistant coaches and their standards, that they continue to push them and get them to get that interest.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. Mike Reed is the head coach at Gordon High School, back-to-back state championships in 6-man in Texas, and on their way, they got a tight matchup with a private 6-man championship team in Covenant Christian out of Fort Worth coming up this week. So I mentioned, and I appreciate your time, and I've taken more than I said I would. Throckmorton, they were on that list, and I mentioned there's a connection. You were a part of that. 2 state championships when you were there. You were at Rule, which when I think of Rule, you mentioned to me Wes Kitley, of course, offensive coordinator now down at a college. What was it, Florida International or Atlantic?
He's at Atlantic.
Atlantic, who was at Tech. And then, of course, Art Briles. That's where he played high school ball when it was 11-man. So you've got this success everywhere you have been. What is it like to be around you if you lose?
When I went to Hamilton, I was 0-10, 3-7, 5-5, and 6-4. And, I feel like that 0-10 season and that 3-7 season, I feel like one of the reasons why I took that job is I wanted to see if I was going to be the same coach from Rule and Throckmorton, who has lost 10 games in 10 years. I really aspired to take that job. In fact, I left a group at Throckmorton, was able to hire one of my best friends to replace me. That was very important to me, to go off and do this adventure in Hamilton. And they won state the year I left. After I left, they won state, and I'm very proud of that as well. But I really did that to see if I would be the same coach. We all act certain ways when we win, but what do we do when we lose? And my wife told me when it was all said and done, and my friends that really do know me, they're like, we were really worried, but man, you did great. I just think I'm the same person. I love kids. I absolutely love kids. And that's just where I put my focus. And then when you have talent, it's kind of crazy you win, and when you don't, it's kind of crazy you don't win. So I just figured if I just keep loving kids, things will take care of itself. And that's just where I put my focus, whether I'm winning or I'm losing.
Did you enjoy, and kind of with a smile on your face, what Hamilton did when they went, 14-1, just in the last year or so? What was it like to see a team like that where you know who they are, what they are, and what they were able to get done?
Yeah, to be honest with you, that group of kids that kind of had done that, that was my son's group. That was the youth programs and the things that were being developed and things like that. Coach Casey Jones, who replaced me, was one of the most phenomenal human beings. You hear horror stories. I left on good terms to come back to my hometown, but I wanted to finish out the year with my kids and their testing and scores and all that. And so we stayed in Hamilton, and Casey Jones was one of the most remarkable people to continue building and doing what he did. And then Coach Marowitz was an unbelievable hire for those guys. He's an unbelievable multi-sport coach. You name the sport, and that sucker can coach it. And and what he was able to kind of continue to do with them at Hamilton and have the year that they had last year, and look at the year they're having this year.
Yep.
I think it just goes to show that it's, that the oak tree that was there, Chris Wilde obviously is a huge shadow to be under in Hamilton, because Hamilton and Salina were battling each other tooth and toenail for years during his Coach Wilde's years there. And it's just a huge shadow that lives there. And it's really nice to kind of be able to see that come back and that oak tree start to get leaves on it and have some great success.
Mike, congratulations on what you've accomplished, all of what you've done throughout your career. And yeah, you're right. The 0-10, you still were one hell of a football coach. And it also allows you to maybe appreciate and cherish the winning, which you're doing now on an every week basis. And good luck with the game against Covenant Christian this weekend. We appreciate you. I got to know you a little bit when you were at Hamilton when I first moved into Central Texas, and then have followed you along the way, and really do appreciate you. And the game with Thorndale and what John Kovar and that group did too, that was great. That to me was so unique. Got featured by Dave Campbell's high school football website over the weekend too. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mike Reed, the head coach at Gordon High School, back-to-back state championships, 4 in program history, and they are trying to continue what they do to maybe make it 3 in a row sometime in the middle to late part of December at AT&T Stadium. When we come back, we will have the best games of week number 5, and there are some good ones. This is the Statewide High School Football Podcast.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Peters Ram in Longview is gearing up for this football season during the Make This the Summer event going on now. Make all the right moves by getting 25% off MSRP on new select Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cabs. The season is looking good with the largest selection of new Ram trucks at Peters Ram during the Make This the Summer event. Online at peterscars.com.
At Sturdy Steel, we build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide, we're proud of our reputation for dependable, high-quality work and strong client relationships that stand the test of time. From concept to installation, our team of skilled drafters, welders, and installers takes pride in delivering seating solutions designed to last. With a focus on dependability, transparency, and service, we are here to make the unique needs of architects, contractors, schools, and venues across the country. We ensure every project is seamless, sturdy, and ready for generations of fans to enjoy. That's Sturdy Steel. This is David Smoak's Statewide Texas High School Football Podcast on 365 Sports and powered by Smoaky.com and sponsored by Peter Chevrolet in Longview, an innovative third-generation family dealership dedicated to ethics, integrity, and the community, while creating friendly, intelligent, and transparent environment to assist with any automotive need, large or small.
McNair in the gun with under 2 minutes left, down 44-0, trying to get a score. English right side, and he will score. Touchdown, the senior, Raul English from 2 yards out.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are an insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. We've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. Sturdy Steel. We build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide. Batteries Plus. We have the person who can fix what you need with expert knowledge on batteries and have you on your way and good to go in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, with locations throughout the Southwest, serving up tasty food since 1989, including off I-35 in Waco. Next in line, Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it with 5 locations in the Waco area. Bird Culchin Ford on the Loop and Highway 6 in Waco. And Waco's trusted Ford dealer since 1936. And customers know they can expect us to be fair, honest, affordable, and always committed to the tradition of quality service.
Want to thank the following sponsors. You see Peter Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, and much more. There's also Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine, thanks to Sturdy Steel and Taylor Bledsoe, and also Ronnie Glazeman, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, and the Mike Garrick, and that great place, that massive company that sits right over Lake Waco off the Highway 6 and Loop 340 off Fish Pond Road, and what they do for many things high school football, including sponsoring our annual Academic All-Stars program that honors 20 amazing student athletes in the greater Central Texas area. And again, I've mentioned Garrett Ross, who does this with me, and a massive high school football fan himself, that gave me the tip on the uniqueness of that Gordon game. And then once I realized, that is Thorndale 11-man football. Here are the games of the week based on, remember, I always try to do this, that number on the far side is what they call rank totals. And that is Gordon, number 1 in their state rankings in Class 6-man. And then Fort Worth Covenant, number 2 private school in their classification. So you'll see numbers to the left of each school, and then to the left of, to the right, the far numbers. Now, on the left side, you see all the dark and bold black numbers. That means if there's a number next to your team that you're favored, or that team is favored, there's one on the right side, Wellington, which is the 3rd pick down. So Gordon is playing against Fort Worth Covenant, and they are favored to win that game, a 9-point pick based on the index, which is so complicated but amazing how accurate it is from Jerry Forrest and Pigskin Prep. There's Stephenville and La Vega. Woo, this is going to be fun. This ought to be a great game. They used to be a part of the same district. They've played before. This one will be fantastic at Art Brow Stadium at Stephenville. Panhandle, I mentioned Wellington is a 3-point pick to beat Panhandle. Last year, Panhandle won that game 41-21. Stephenville beat La Vega last year by 10. It was 38-28. Salina, we featured them. Bill Elliott, they keep rolling, although 33-22 against Franklin. A heck of a game. Salina and Panther Creek. Salina winning that game by 35 last year. Anna with that huge win against Lovejoy last week against Melissa. Melissa winning that last year 21-18. Anna is a 4-point pick. ARP, the Tigers. My son-in-law, Daniel Golden, he's married to my daughter, Jennifer. He goes to the ARP Tiger games. His niece is a cheerleader at ARP High School. He goes to the games. They just smothered Sabine last week. I think it was 62-0. These two teams, ARP and Troop, are connected. It is connected, the elbow to the shoulder, how close they are. It's just south of Tyler, the White House, and then you have also right there, Troop and ARP right next to each other. Man, I covered some great games between them over the years. ARP, a slight pick against both teams are 4-0. Pleasant Grove losing to Kilgore, and now turn around and play Sunnyvale. And Sunnyvale and Pleasant Grove winning that game last year by 42-12. Argyle and Heritage. Heritage is 2-2. They've played a hell of a non-conference or non-district schedule. Argyle 2. That game is a toss-up game according to Pigskin Prep. Argyle winning last year 42-35. Hitchcock and Silsbee. I mentioned that Belleville-Hitchcock game a week ago. Hitchcock winning big last year and favored by 8. Then there's DeSoto, an 8-point pick against Waxahachie, who just beat Duncanville. The challenge for Shane Tollison this week, if you're going to keep that bamboo theory and analogy, is okay, were they able to enjoy that? And they should enjoy it. Whether it's a 24-hour rule or what. Now you turn around and you play DeSoto. And we know that Claude Mathis and DeSoto are good. They won by 15 last year. They're 2-2. They play out-of-state games. They play anybody, just like a lot of teams do at the 6A level around Texas. DeSoto is a 2-touchdown favorite in that game. I think Duncanville last week, wasn't it, Garrett, like a 9-point pick? No, it was actually like 6 or something. It was
closer, yeah.
Yeah. Chapel Hill, Bulldogs lost to Carthage and Lindale. Chapel Hill just on the east side of Tyler, Lindale on the north side of Tyler. They're on I-20, and Chapel Hill's a slight favorite against Lindale. Vernon, 3-0, the Lions, and Paradise. Winning last year, big 34-7, a touchdown pick. In Shallow Water, a 6-point favorite against Idalou. We did, Paul Catalina, and I was a part of the broadcast, and I can't remember who else, but Crawford had a really good team. Of course, they've always had a pretty good team, although the last couple of years a little bit down. Ty Robinson trying to get that back on track. But we did a game where Crawford played Idalou. I think that game might have been in, was it not Cisco? It was right outside of Abilene, and Idalou was unbelievable and won that game. I remember doing that game. They were big and physical, had a tailback, I-back that was just amazing. Shallow Water winning by 4 a year ago, a 6-point pick. And then Edna, a pick'em game against Orange Grove. Edna's 1-2, but they have played really good people, 11th overall in their classification. So those are the games. Those aren't the only good ones. There's a lot of good ones. One of the games that I will be broadcasting on Friday this week is the 12-6A District 12-6A opener, Harker Heights and Midway in a game. Harker Heights, the defending champions, 2-2. Midway with that dramatic win against Mansfield, and that closes out the show with this stat. How many times, and if you are watching or you could find this out, Midway lost the turnover battle -5, won the game, down 21-0. Joe Gillespie just walked in the studio. I'm about to do a weekly deal with him. He's like, no, stop talking about 21-0, 34-14 at halftime, and Midway just took off. Defense got forced punts, and the offense, which has been explosive, was explosive in the second half. How many teams have ever won a game with a -5 turnover ratio? I'm talking any level of any kind of football, NFL, college, or even high school. Garrett Ross, thank you very much. Thanks to our great sponsors. Thanks to Gordon head coach Mike Reed. The uniqueness of playing an 11-man school in Thorndale last week, and they're trying to win on their way, a journey to possibly winning 3 straight state championships. This has been the statewide high school football podcast, Smoaky.com and 365 Sports.